747. 747. And we will start in on the 15th chapter of Mark. We have, after tonight, we have probably about 3 more lessons on Wednesday and 2 sermons on Resurrection Sunday, the 17th. And then we will wrap up the book of Mark. And we've been in this probably a little over a year and a half now. So, and there she comes. She just missed the offering. I was going to have her do the offering, but I had to be the youth tonight to do that. So. All right. But 747, and we're going to look at the first 20 verses of Mark chapter 15 tonight. So let's go ahead and begin reading. And straightway in the morning, the chief priest held a consultation with the elders and scribes and the whole council, and bound Jesus and carried him away and delivered him to Pilate. And Pilate asked him, Art thou the king of the Jews? And he answered and said unto him, Thou sayest it. And the chief priest accused him of many things, but he answered nothing. And Pilate asked him again, saying, Answerest thou nothing? Behold, how many things they witness against thee. But Jesus yet answered nothing, so that Pilate marveled. Now at that feast he released unto them one prisoner, whomsoever they desired. And there was one named Barabbas, which lay bound with them that had made insurrection with him, who had committed murder in the insurrection. And the multitude, crying aloud, began to desire him to do as he had ever done unto them. But Pilate answered them, saying, Will ye that I release unto you the King of the Jews? For he knew that the chief priest had delivered him for envy. But the chief priest moved the people that he should rather release Barabbas unto them. And Pilate answered and said again unto them, What will ye then that I shall do unto him whom ye call the King of the Jews? And they cried out again, Crucify him. Then Pilate said unto them, Why? What evil hath he done? And they cried out the more exceedingly, Crucify him. And so Pilate, willing to content the people, released Barabbas unto them, and delivered Jesus, when he had scourged him to be crucified. And the soldiers led him away into the hall called Praetorium, and they called together the whole band. And they clothed him with purple, and plaited a crown of thorns, and put it about his head, and began to salute him. Hail, King of the Jews! And they smote him on the head with a reed, and did spit upon him, and bowing their knees, worshipped him. And when they had mocked him, they took the purple from him, and put his own clothes on him, and led him out to crucify him. Once again, we read of this event that usually about this time of year that we continue to look at in depth, because we're leading up to Resurrection Sunday, and we focus in on the trials, we focus in on the cruel death of Jesus Christ. As I said a couple of weeks ago, that Jesus faced 2 different types of trials. One of them was the ecclesiastical trial, and that particular trial had 3 stages in it. One was the preliminary hearing that Jesus faced with Annas, who was the chief priest recognized by the Jewish people. And then the midnight trial, as a lot of commentators talk about, who was before Caiaphas at his house in his courtyard there with the council, that being the Sanhedrin, 70 religious leaders, mostly Sadducees, and a few Pharisees thrown in. And then the one that we read here in the very first verse of Mark chapter 15 is the morning consultation of the council. That makes up the ecclesiastical trial of the religious leaders. But the thing about it is, the religious leaders, they wanted Jesus to be put to death. But under Roman law, the Jewish leaders could not do that. The only thing they could really do would to be a stoning, of taking Jesus outside of the city and stoning him to death. And I think one of the reasons why that the religious leaders didn't push that envelope is because Jesus had many followers. And they did not want the people to feel ill towards them for having Jesus taken out of the city and stoned. But if they could make it to where it was approved by the Romans that are enemies of the Jews, then that would steer the people towards a revolt. Maybe his followers would revolt against the Roman Empire, and they would come out smelling like a rose. And so that's probably one of the reasons why that Jesus was never stoned, because some of these charges, and they're trump charges, by the way, that none of these things he ever did because he was innocent. He was perfect. He did not commit one sin. And so these charges are false. But had they been true, I think they merited enough that he could have been stoned outside of the city of Jerusalem. Especially blasphemy. You know, saying that you are God. I mean, that was enough to take him out and do that. But again, they feared the people because of the large crowds that he had assembled around him. Well, after the ecclesiastical trial, we have the civil trial. And it also came in 3 stages as well. He appeared before Pilate, who is the Roman governor. And that's what we see here in verses 2 through 5 of Mark's Gospel. And then before Herod the Tetrarch over Galilee, which Matthew and Luke talk about. And then again back to Pilate, which that's verses 6 through 15 that we've read this evening. Tonight I want us to focus our attention on the events that's related to the civil trial that's found here in the 15th chapter of Mark's Gospel, and he has 2 of those 3 stages. He has him appearing before Pilate the first time, and then coming back to Pilate after Herod in the second time that Jesus appeared before Pilate. And then we see how that Jesus was mocked by the Roman soldiers. So let's direct our attention to the details of the trial, starting with the participants, okay? And the first participant we have here is Pilate himself, isn't he? Who is the governor. Did a little bit of research and found out that Pilate was the 5th Roman governor of Judea. And he reigned for about 10 years as their governor. He came into power in 26 AD. And it lasted 10 years later until AD 36. Now, Pilate, even though that he showed concern and wasn't eager to punish Jesus, we see that he was kind of harsh towards the Jews. And that he had a lot of greed, and he was cruel, he was against them. If you look over into Luke's Gospel, I'll give you the page number, page 765 in the Pew Bible. That's Luke chapter 13, 765. We see of his greed and cruelty against some that had come for a sacrifice to offer up to God. And we see this. It says, there were present at that season some that told him of the Galileans, whose blood Pilate had mingled with their sacrifices. And Jesus answering said unto them, suppose ye that these Galileans were sinners above all the Galileans, because they suffered such things? He said, I tell you nay, but except ye repent, ye shall all likewise perish. During the earthly ministry of Jesus, maybe a little bit before that, there was a time in which Herod had taken some of these Jews that were from the region of Galilee and had them slaughtered and mixed their blood in with the blood of the sacrifices that they had offered up to worship of God. Again, that shows the cruelty of Pilate. And of course, later on, Nero, who would be emperor of Rome, would take Christians and burn them on crosses at night to light their streets of the evening. He would take them to the large colosseums, and they would starve lions for several days, and then throw Christians out there in the middle of the arena, and the lions would be released, and the lions would chase the Christians and then eat the Christians and sit there until evening and lick their bones. I mean, that's what they did. That was entertainment. That's like us sitting down watching TV tonight. They would pay money to go to the Colosseums and to see Christians being eaten up by hungry lions. And so Pilate here mingled the blood of these Galileans in with their sacrifices. So he's a participant here, but also are the chief priests. That's the second group that we see here, who had plotted to kill Jesus, and they sent for him to be arrested. How that Judas went with them. And as we learned last week, Judas said, the one that I kiss, that is the one that you need to take and to arrest. And they had tried Jesus at the home of Caiaphas, and they had delivered him up to Pilate, because again, according to Roman law, they could not have him crucified. It had to come in under the Roman law. And another participant is one that probably was his lucky day. Who do you think